You know, one of the crazy things about running, I've been a professional for a long time. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and it's crazy that even after all that time and that experience, that I still get nervous about some sessions, that I still get a little bit anxious of, will I be able to do this session? Is it too fast? Is it too hard? Will I be capable? But you learn little tips and tricks and techniques along the way, and they help, but make no mistake, there's still days that you get a little bit nervous, and today's one of those days. Let's get into it. So today went really well. That's 4 times 2K, really simple. Headwind one direction, tailwind the other. I was like 5:01 per mile one direction, 4:55 the other way, and I think there was only 1 second splitting the sort of difference between rep 1 and rep 3 in one direction and rep 2 and rep 4 in the other direction. But I'll get home, I'll talk you through exactly how that went. You'll get to see lots of footage of today's session, and then this evening's harder session, which I have to say I'm pretty nervous about, but it'll get me ready for the Lisbon Half Marathon. And that's something that's super important, that you're training the physiology, but then you're also training the psychology, that you're not going to go into a race not prepared. So I want to make sure that the first 2 miles of the race is probably going to be 4:45 per mile, and I want to make sure that I've done that. So let's get home and I'll chat you through. So today's training day, I'm in Belfast. This is Mary Peters track. I'm actually doing the morning session on the towpath. It's called the Lagan towpath. It's a little bit windy, so it's a bit sheltered, and you know, that kind of helps. And there's markers every 400 meters, so you can really dial into pace. The specific reason for how today's training day is set up, in the morning I'm doing 4 times 2K. That should come in around about probably marathon-y type effort. A month or two ago, they would have been a little bit slower, where I would have prioritized what you could call intensity. Intensity being, I'm going to run at this intensity because it makes the most sense. LT1, keeping the lactate under 2. But as you start to get closer to perhaps the race and sort of business end of the season, as in you're maybe in month 3 of a 4-month build-up, so you're getting closer to race day, you can start to prioritize pace. And so I'm now starting to prioritize pace, and that means that I don't worry so much about lactate, but I'm still keeping it at a low enough effort that it's not taking too much out of me in the morning. The intensity of the reps was that 4:55 to 5 minutes, coming in around marathon effort, 60 seconds rest, heart rate stayed stable, speed stayed stable, and as you can see from the splits, it was just consistent. Bulking days like today allows you some of the training that you're doing it to maintain the level of fitness that you've built. And I've done videos on this in the past, but some training you must do to maintain the level you've built. And then tonight's session, and I don't know why I'm smiling, but the evening session, that's a tougher ask. Going into big races, you need to have done something in training that perhaps simulates how you're going to feel on race day. Otherwise, it's going to be a big ask of the body and the brain on race day to suddenly jump to this next level of ability. So hopefully on race day, you're going to taper a bit, so you'll be feeling a bit better. Hopefully the course is a bit faster than what you've been using in training. And then maybe your race day shoes, adrenaline, this sort of thing allows you to be quicker on race day. But you still must practice that pace that hopefully you want to be able to run on race day. Otherwise, you might go in a bit blind, trying to achieve something that you're not ready yet to achieve. So I've been a runner well over 20 years, I think now, which is frightening, but it is still like so interesting that having done it for this length of time, that I still get, little bits nervous about how's the session going to go? Am I going to be able to do it? How today worked out is I did those 2Ks, they went really well. And because of the nerves, I'm not joking, I wanted to do the session that morning. I wanted to, having just finished the 2Ks, I wanted to rush it. I wanted to find out now, am I able to do this? And so the first step was calming everything down, going home, having some recovery, food, getting in the Normatex. I actually had an ice bath as well. That was all about just preparing as best as I possibly can. All that's happening is the nerves, the anxiety, they're taking over a bit and they want you to rush because they don't want to wait, right? So So I come back in the afternoon, I go to a towpath close to my house, and you won't have seen me do that many hard sessions on the YouTube channel because I don't like having people there when I'm doing something a bit harder. I don't know if that's the same with you guys, but some things like that, I prefer to just, I'll go get it done. And then I guess it's that if I fail or if I can't hit the splits, it's just me. But most of the time it goes well. So I allowed Chris to come, who was filming. And actually, there was a funny moment during the session where, as I was starting to struggle a bit, and not struggle a bit, but as the work or the effort was becoming that little bit harder, Chris was, cycling on the bike, and even though he'd have got better footage if he was up close to me, I kind of like got short with him. I was like, no, go back, go back. And that to me is crazy how much sometimes we get in our own heads. And so the session was 2 mile, 2 mile, 1 mile, plenty of recovery, 3 minutes. And that was to really allow me to run at a good pace and a good effort. I had an idea of what I hoped I'd be capable of doing, which was around about 4:40 per mile. The only reason I say that is because before I ran well at, I think it was Larne half marathon, I ran 61 minutes. I did 4 times 2 mile and I was able to run 4:40 to 4:45. So a little bit shorter today, 2 mile, 2 mile, 1 mile, but that's because I'll do another harder session in a couple of days' time, which will be the last sort of final hard session. But the 2 mile, 2 mile, 1 mile, the rep is long enough that you can't fluke it. So if you're trying to run, let's say 4:45 pace for a half marathon or 5-minute pace, and you can't do a 2 mile rep in training, you're not likely to then go and run a half marathon. I hope that's kind of obvious. But if I did like Ks or mile reps, sometimes you can do that, and then that might give you false hope that you're then capable on race day. So it was a good day, a really, really good day. I ended up running 4:38, 4:40, and then I think I was 4:38, 4:40, and then maybe 4:33. That, I couldn't ask for better, to be honest. It goes without saying that what I've been doing in training is working. All the, sometimes it's the boring basics. I've preached about it on the channel. Sometimes it's just sticking to a plan, making that decision not to go to altitude, sticking around here, getting some of those basics back in place, getting those K reps from 305 down to 255. There's no way 2 months ago I could have done 2 mile, 2 mile, 1 mile at 4:40 pace if I was kind of struggling with Ks at 3:05 pace, which is, 4:58 pace per mile, not 4:40. I'm sorry for confusing you. But the real beauty of this is that during these sessions, during this whole block, I've done a really good job with the psychology of just calming things down. You have to really get into this mindset, this headspace of just focus on now. I know we read and hear a lot about being present nowadays, but it is so, so important. You're in that tough spot maybe, right? You're starting to breathe a bit more than you'd like. Your body's maybe not feeling as comfortable. And if you start panicking, what happens when you panic is you start to not flow as well as you had been, right? Your rhythm goes, where you're carrying your arms, how your breathing rate is, it all basically goes to shit. And so you must, in those moments of maybe you're worried about, I might slow down. Maybe you're worried because someone's going a bit quicker than you. But what I do is I noticed that I'd been short with Chris, for example, on the bike. And then what I did was be like, hey, you need to learn to just be calm. It's that calm in the chaos, right? And so I was able to do this in Dublin Marathon really well also, but I was able to just be like, just pretend it's just me and you, my brain and my physical body. And it's this, just pretend it's just us. How would the rhythm be if it was just us? How would the rhythm be if pace didn't matter? How would the rhythm be if this wasn't being uploaded to Strava or we didn't have to analyze the pace after? And the minute you do that and you take that sort of like fear of failure maybe away, fear of somebody else going a bit quicker, you just get back to focusing on, oh, right, that's right. When I breathe nice and steady, when my shoulders are relaxed, when all I'm focusing on is being as relaxed and as efficient as I possibly can, I'm faster than that athlete that is in that anxious and panic stage. So that it's a bloody good training day. It's a good sign for the half marathon is now in 10 days time. That's in Lisbon half marathon. I think it's going to give me a good indication of where things are at. Hopefully I run a bit quicker than what I did in Great North Run when I struggled, but I'll be keen to see if all this hard work is starting to pay off. I've been focusing on all the little things, the gym, the recovery stuff. I often preach about some of these, big sessions, hard days, but it wouldn't be possible without all the little details that goes around that. So if you want to check out more on that, you can go to the running school, joggingroom.com. That funds everything that I do here. But thanks so much for watching and take care.